Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and I'm here with Kathy of Cinema Podcast, and we're going to talk about an amazing classic film that I have never talked about on screen before, Sholay.
And it's the first time I ever seen it. You said, I was like, what are some old ones we can watch? And this is the first one you thought of.
Okay, Sholay. The funny thing is we had just finished doing that teaser for the upcoming kind of sci-fi futuristic Kalki.
Yeah.
And what does immediately come to mind? A film from 1975. But I said to you, have you ever seen Amitabh Bachchan in his Angry Young Man classic films from the 1970s?
Never.
Because that is what he's really known for. And what better film this is listed in the top films of Indian cinema. Like, it's just so iconic.
Yeah.
And as I was explaining to you, and I'm sure when you watch the film, there's so many homages to it in RRR, especially. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there's a whole song, Ye Dosti. There's a Dosti song in RRR. The motorcycle with the sidecar. Like, whenever you see that, it's in any Indian film, it's a reference back to this. And also the final song of RRR is Sholay.
Remember? Oh, that's funny.
Which means like burning ember.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the name of the word, burning ember. That's so, how big of an homage can you have? Right? A whole song named Sholay at the end.
Seriously. My God.
So this is, okay, I will admit, there have been books written about Sholay. Okay, I am not the foremost expert on the film. I am looking forward to you viewers telling us more trivia in the comments. We're going to be looking for that, because I knew some things, but even look at the Wikipedia, I learned even more things. First, before we get into all the trivia and everything, what were your impressions? Did you know what it was going to be about? Did you know it was going to be a Western? It's so different, right?
I did not, it's funny because I love 70s film. I love 70s fashion. I just love that whole vibe. So when it started, I wasn't quite sure where it was going. And then it was full on like spaghetti Western, Sergio Leone. So love it, because that's one of my favorite genres. I just love that. So when that started really kicking in, I'm like, is this seriously going to be like a spaghetti Western? And it really was. They did it. And I was, this is such an amazing take on the spaghetti Western vibe. I mean, they even had, the guy wearing the cloak, the kind of, the cape, the wrap that had the little tendrils on it, the little things. And it was full on like Clint Eastwood, like, throwing it back kind of idea. You just were waiting for that moment. And we had a kind of a shock when that moment happened. We were like, But no, I loved the vibe. It was that 70s vibe. I loved how great Amitabh looked. Holy shit. What a hottie. Did not expect that. Like, right. And he actually it was funny. It was almost slapstick. It was almost funny in the beginning. That it was like, I couldn't quite, at first I had a little bit of trouble getting into the vibe, because I'm like, if this is just gonna be a big goofy thing, I don't know. But then as it starts evolving and getting more and more serious and it gets deeper and deeper, this movie just, as it takes you on the ride, just completely like blooms as it goes. And I thought that was an amazing trick.
Well, they call it like dacoit Western, which is the name for the bandits, or a curry Western, like you say spaghetti Western instead. It's a curry Western. But it still has that masala element where you have everything in one film, right? Yep. You have big musical numbers. You have silly, like the whole jail sequence with the.
I have some notes about that.
Like Hitler, my
what's the Hitler thing? And then they had the gay character who was like with the little curl flirting with him, and I'm like, what is happening right now?
Right. So you're right. There's all this comedy, but then the stakes just keep getting higher and higher and higher.
You just have to get through that, because I was like, if this is gonna be the whole movie, I might have some trouble with this one. But no, they kind of soft land you into a little bit of comedy, a little bit. They're just kind of funny guys who are robbing people.
Romance. These funny.
Yeah, they're just having fun. And they they shoot off handcuffs, which seems really dangerous. But I
know that scene happened to get.
When they held that scene, and then they're the two. I'm like, that guy's gonna he's gonna shoot them. Somehow it worked. I don't know. So I have that shooting the handcuffs. Funny. But they did have some great scenes. Like they were, as you look at just cinematography, was, I feel like, really beyond its time, because they had some really artful like framing and like even just the handcuffs, so the two hands stick up and the thing between them and they bullet. That was just some really efficient storytelling right there. So.
Well, I mean, just even during that whole that opening sequence on the train, right?
Yes.
Like when there's all these bandits are riding horses alongside the train.
Yeah.
And I noticed even in that which just could be pedestrian filmmaking, it was like we're shot through cactus or we're shot through there was art.
Yes.
Even, in the action sequences, things were fast moving or whatever, but there was still always an interesting shot or an interesting take. It was really cool.
Really well done, especially for that time. Those cameras are big and heavy. Like it was a whole different way of shooting. Like now it's a little easier. You have all the, the steady cam and then the smaller cameras you can just carry and all those, but now back then film every 10 minutes. They have to change that camera.
Right.
So like, holy shit.
Yeah. And what you might not know is this for Indian cinema, this was the very first 70 millimeter widescreen film.
That's
so imagine how that must have blown away theater audiences in 1975. And it was also the first Indian film with stereophonic soundtrack.
Wow. So it was very advanced for what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like almost like a big, like, here we are in the new age of filmmaking.
Right. Wow. And I think it actually didn't do great the first 2 weeks, and then word of mouth spread.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling my husband, like, not only was the soundtrack by R D Burman, it's iconic, like, the holy number, like every holy celebration.
Oh my God.
That,
so
right?
Good.
Like, but beyond that, there were albums of the dialogues.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I mean, they were so epic and iconic that there were, people would buy a record album of the just to listen to the dialogues at home.
That's so wild.
Wow. Right?
Okay.
So crazy.
Wow.
And we when we talked about DDLJ, we talked about how it played in theaters for so long. This movie played in a theater in Mumbai for 5 years straight.
Wow. I mean, holy shit. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is like I said, it's a blockbuster. Even if it had a slow ramp up, I think the marketing actually wasn't great for the film, and people, and it's crazy now, but I'm not, Amitabh in 1975, he had two huge films. He had this film and Diwar, but the bigger star when this film was made was Dharmendra, his buddy, so Veeru, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's. Amitabh then wasn't what Amitabh is now, right? Like after this film was
the beginning of his career,
right? Yeah. So now the other crazy thing is that the female leads.
I was going to say, let's talk about her for a minute.
Okay. Well, both of them. So the widow is played by Jaya. Amitabh and Jaya got married 4 months before this film started filming.
Oh,
and filming took 2.5 years, partially because she got pregnant with their daughter, so that delayed some of the filming.
Wow.
And then Basanti, Dharmendra's love interest in the film, chatty Kathy Basanti. So that funny. Is Hema Malini, and I sent you, I don't know if you saw, I sent you, they had posted just today, it's their we're recording this, it was their 44th wedding anniversary.
Wow, that's
so
insane.
I think they got married shortly after this film. So that's the thing, the chemistry that we are seeing on screen is real life.
It's real. They were really feeling it.
It is completely real. Now, I will say, I'd love Dharmendra, but there was a slight issue with him marrying Hema, and that he was already married, but we won't get into that.
A little technicality with that one.
Yeah. So Bobby Deol is his son. We're Bobby Deol fans here. Kathy really and funny. I. Bobby and Sunny Deol are his sons with his first wife. So, but yeah, I mean, he's been married all these times. And also the crazy thing is that movie Rocky or Rani with Ranbir. So with Ranbir and everything, and Alia. So Dharmendra plays Ranbir's grandfather in that film, and I think he's 88 now, so he was 87 or whatever when they made that film. he had never had an on-screen kiss. That was his first on-screen kiss.
That's so cute.
I mean, it was like, you should have seen my face in the theater when I was like. But anyway,
funny. I love that behind the scenes stuff. It just makes it seem more authentic, even. It's like,
so the script, it was written by two men, Javed Akhtar and Salim Khan. Salim Khan is Salman Khan's father, and Javed Akhtar is Zoya and Farhan Akhtar's father. So famous scriptwriting duo.
Yes.
Okay, and this is one of their, of course, most iconic scripts.
Like, this movie seems like something Quentin Tarantino would love.
Oh yeah,
I would be surprised if he doesn't show it at his movie theater here in Hollywood. It's like he should be having big screens of that movie. I would so love to see that on a big screen. Oh,
I mean, so there was things about looking up to do this video, things that I didn't know. For instance, okay, so I have seen this film a couple of times before, but this time I watched it with my husband. In the final scene, my husband was screaming for blood. he wanted Doctor to kill Gabbar Singh. Like, he was just like,
seriously,
like when the cops show up and he doesn't get killed, my husband was like incensed about
that. Was a bit of a bummer because they were leading up to it. It was just like you were just waiting for the moment. They're like, wait, what?
So what happened was the original ending. He gets Gabbar Singh gets kicked onto a nail and he does die.
Okay.
But the censors thought that was too graphic, so it was cut. Oh. So then they had to I think there was quite a few things they had to reshoot because of the censors. Like, I think in the original, like, my husband was like, what is the deal? Because if you see the massacre of the Thakker's family, which leads to this whole thing by Gabbar Singh and his men, my husband was like, wait, all these horses can fall in these really gruesome ways, but you don't even see a spot of blood with all of these people being shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it was censors of the time didn't want that to be so gruesome and violent, right? But I mean, it still has an impact because I mean, it was the first time I saw it. Shocking.
I was shocked. I mean, I like too the technique of when they were shot, they would freeze frame and they would just show them kind of mid fall, like when they've just been hit. They would just hold on it for a second, which I thought was a cool idea. Yeah. So each person got that until the little kid, which they didn't show it. They showed him later. But yeah, the horse thing too bothered me because, this is back before a lot of protections. And I don't even know. Yeah. I mean, in America, we have protections, which could be real or not. I'm not even sure.
Well, a lot of Indian films say all the animals are CGI to reassure you that no animals were harmed.
And I much prefer the CGI animals to real animals because it's not good.
But yeah, I mean, my husband literally said, this film certainly couldn't have one of those no animals were harmed in the film.
And a lot of our, old Hollywood films didn't have them either. And horses were getting killed and hurt and those things. So when those horses are hitting the ground and rolling, I'm always like, oh God.
Oh man. It is.
I'm always watching. Is it getting up?
I was just like, oh my God.
I did not like it. I know. I don't like that.
I knew those moments. I'm like, Kathy's not going to like it.
I know. And I have it written down. Some of the horse stunts are worrying me. I think that's why I didn't love Westerns except for spaghetti Westerns or, earlier Westerns like John Wayne and stuff, because I did not trust that the animals were being treated well. And so when I see horses getting hurt, I thought they're really getting hurt. They probably are. So, yeah.
I mean, some of those were just really
violent. Not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there was a lot of like just jumping on horses and riding off, which was funny too, because like I've been riding horses my whole life, right? So when these guys would jump on the horses, they'd be like trying to make them go, but they're not really going. I'm like, that's not how you make a horse go. Everybody looked like it was the first time they ever been on a horse. They're gonna jump on the horse and take off, and they jump on the horses like what? So there's just a little bit of a scramble trying to get the horse to move, but that made it even more adorable though. But another one of my favorite scenes was the dance scene of her dancing till her feet bled. Yeah, I thought that was such a great scene. Oh my God, it was spectacular. And just the way it ends, everything about it, like her keeping trying, him realizing what's happening, the threat of him with his arms up, which we all know is, we find out what that's about. Yeah. It's like all of that was just so amped and so great. And he looked so good. And she was so like passionate and trying, like it was so good. That's when you knew this film was really getting you. That's okay, they're making it work.
Because this, I mean, what I love about that, I mean, Jaya playing the widow, she has a much more muted presence in the film. Although the flashback, my husband thought she was really overacting when she was like, "It's holy, I'm really," she's a teenage girl getting to be wild on Holy Mark. Give her a break.
And they want to show more contrast to her super like muted, acting with the as the widow.
But Hema as Basanti has been really comedy track through most of the film, although she does rescue the guys in one gunfight. Like we've seen that she's brave, right? Yeah. She has that one scene where she rescued them, and my husband was a little worried about her whipping the horse. I'm like, maybe she's just whipping the air. Like, I
love that he's that's what it's like to watch movies with me. It's like everybody, what about the horse? It's like, would you just watch the movie and quit worrying about the animals? I have to worry.
But I mean, that is just the bravery that she shows, in that scene. It's so iconic. Now, the funny thing is, Sanjeev Kumar, who plays the Thakur Singh, the man with no arms, he wanted to play Gabbar Singh. He wanted to play the villain. And the filmmakers were like, no, because they wanted this guy to be purely evil. So okay, viewers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that Amjad Khan, who played Gabbar Singh, had really had any major roles before this. And so there was no preconceived, he's really a good guy. You know what I mean? Like he could be purely evil. I mean, and he was. He was just
he was terrible. Oh my God. Every time he came on the scene, I'm like, oh.
And he was evidently based on a real life bandit from the 50s. So I mean, I love that. Like whatever stories there were about a legend about a real person, they kind of brought into this movie. Now, my husband, while we're watching, he wanted to know, where is this? Because I see palm trees, right? Because I mean, it's a Hindi movie, but Mark and I had just been visiting India a few months ago, and he's like, where was this? So it was filmed in Karnataka, and this famous, I just the look of that rock formation was so. I bet that was just so great to film around, because just different angles of it could create different great scenes, and it was just so like it just amped it up, right? Like those, especially those final confrontation scenes were just
so good. Okay, the final scenes. When the big
foot fight. First, I should say, my husband. Okay, you were talking about the cape, right? And how it's like an homage to like Clint Eastwood or something, right? Yes. And my husband was I will just say he was in a little bit of an altered state, but he was like, what is with this guy in this cape? He's like, what does he have, no arms or something?
Like, I did not see that coming. I was shocked. I was like, what? Because I just thought he was just being a weirdo. I thought they just weren't quite pulling it off. Like he's trying to look cool, but it just looks awkward. But it had he had a reason for him.
He had a reason.
That's
he
right.
had a reason. Super awkward. Why did you pick up that gun?
I know. Pick it up yourself.
What are you, a coward?
Why is this woman running around picking up after you? What's the deal? That's so funny. And the scene was really shocking when that terrible bandit does cut off his. I mean, I was like, whoa, like
right.
How do you even survive that? My God, it was just terrible. Whereas he's got his arms tied up, and then he comes at him with these two blades. Fortunately, they don't show it, but I mean, unfortunately for you, unfortunately for me, but at the same time, when they tie up, Amitabh at the end, or they tie up, was it Amitabh?
No, Dharmendra was.
It was Dharmendra. When they tie him up, and I'm like, oh God, please, no, don't let this happen. And I feel like it could have happened, because I feel like one of these guys is doomed. It just had that feeling, like they're both not going to make it out. So I wasn't sure which one. Just wasn't sure.
I mean, I think they talked about changing the ending so that Amitabh lived, but I feel like the film has so much more impact that he sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
And so my husband was like, what is the deal with the widow? And I was trying to explain to him, like, widows were not supposed to remarry. So it was like this doomed, forbidden romance, right?
But he's a bandit. He'll break the rules.
Well, right. But I mean, there is a discussion, like, Dr. her father-in-law seems to be okay with it, like had not discouraged her and could obviously see what was happening. Yeah. But still, societally, it would have been, a huge thing. And so I'm like, they had the Doom Romance, whereas Dharmendra and Hema's, he was like, okay, I'm going to save them. I'll sacrifice myself. And I mean, I just feel like it's so epic that he, I mean, because again, it raises the stakes. Like you literally don't, you're like, I don't know if he's going to live. I don't know if he's going to make it. And then it's just, oh my God. Like,
and they were a team the whole time. I mean, they really tied them together through the whole thing and how they looked out for each other and support each other. When he was up on the tower, the water tower, being all drunk and stupid up there. I loved on top on the ground, just like, oh God, that's like he does this all the time. He just, and then she runs over. We have to help him. He's gonna get hurt. He's like, ugh. He just rolls his eyes. It's so funny. I love that so much. He's like, yeah, he does this all the time. Don't worry, he'll be fine. He's like, I'm gonna kill myself. He's like, no, he's not. Fine. I love that. It was so funny. And it's just how well they knew each other. Like he probably worried for the first 100 times he did it. And he's like, I'm not worrying about this.
Well, and like when Dharmendra is flirting with Basanti, like she wants some mangoes and he's shooting them out of the trees. And then you look and it was actually Amitabh that did it. And then he's just like, but then the flirting, like, let me put my arms around you and show you how to and Amitabh's just over there just like,
this is so bad.
Here we go again.
I like too where he's trying to do the voice of God, telling her she needs to be with him, and then Amitabh's like, "Go around the back of this and take a look." He's over there. Yes, I am telling you, you need to be. Like she was falling for that. So funny. It was very cute, very impish. Like that humor kind of worked in that. That's why I think the dramatic stuff was really impactful because you were kind of caught off guard a little bit because they treated a lot of it lightly and everybody was having fun until they weren't. Which was anytime that villain showed up.
It's like you think about the Holy song, like everything is just so joyous. The whole village is celebrating together. Everything is so great, and then like a record scratching, right?
Yeah, like, exactly.
And then all of a sudden the bandits are there, and we're in the middle of a gunfight, and oh my God, you're like,
everybody's running, and everybody's getting shot. Oh my God.
No, I will admit, like 1975 movie has a different kind of a pace.
It does.
Than what we're used to now. Like I make allowances for that, but my husband was like, he was not as like I know Amitabh, I know Dharmendra, so I was enjoying all the banter. I was enjoying all of those little character scenes, and my husband was like, "Are we gonna get back to some action? Like this is a long time spending.
Like how long is this movie?" I know exactly.
He's like, he's playing the harmonica again. Okay.
We have another harmonica interval. Well, okay, then we have the epic, ridiculous, amazing fight foot scene in the end. Foot fight. So that's when they do the big reveal. He has no arms. We know he's going after the villain. Him and the villain, he has no arms. So and the villain's kind of like, what are you gonna do? I felt like I was watching that Monty Python where the knight, he's like, what are you gonna do? Bleed on me? It's like he has no arms, and he's like, "I'm gonna kick you." It's like so stupid. So he does these ridiculous flying stunts where he's kicking the guy and landing on his feet. I'm like, and also this was not convincing at all. The arms underneath the shirt, but
I know.
But that made it more charming. Like things were different then. All right, but I did enjoy it, and it was a long fight. Like they had a lot going on, so a lot of the feet. And even the villain's kind of, this is ridiculous. And he's like, wait a minute, he's kind of kicking my ass. But my main question was, why didn't he just run away? I mean, it's so easy.
Right. I'm like, did he really knock the breath out of you so much that you couldn't get up?
Just get up and go climb a tree or something. He'll never get you. Just get out of there. So you just have to sort of suspend disbelief. And also I think it's part of his hubris of like, no way am I going to let a guy with no arms kill me. No way. And then, they have the pushing him onto the big spike in the thing. And
I mean, it's also, you think about Gabbar Singh and his gang, right? Like he ruled by fear, not necessarily by love and loyalty, right?
Yes,
like who's going to
definitely fear. Yes.
Who's going to come to his rescue when, wait, maybe he's going to be gone and I can live a normal life and not,
exactly
on the edge of, am I going to live another day every single day?
Every day. When I look at him wrong and he kills us all, which happened a lot. Like,
my husband was guessing what was going to happen. Remember towards the beginning where there was the three guys that Amitabh and Dharmendra, chase out of town, and one just got winged a little bit, shot. And they come back and he's like, what, you guys, 2 guys beat the 3 of you, and then you're like, and then he lines them up and with, the Russian roulette with the gun. And my husband's like, oh, he's like, yeah, he's going to shoot all of them, isn't he? He's like,
no one's getting out
and
alive.
then it happened and he was like, yeah, I saw that coming. But
I guess you get off and no bullet.
Okay, but you think about 1975, that must have been such a tense scene because we've seen that kind of thing now.
It's always tense.
So
I hate
many
those
times,
scenes.
right?
Oh,
but
so
think about a theater goer in 1975 that's never seen that kind of a Russian roulette scene.
Yes.
That it must have been edge of your seat, like, oh my God.
Russian roulette and 70 millimeter.
I mean, every single one, like you're like, okay, now the last is gonna get it. Click again. Oh my God.
And the guy's like, what is happening? So funny. Oh my God.
Wow.
So there was a lot of really great, iconic scenes in this that I really loved. I mean, overall, yes, does it feel a little dated? It's part of its charm.
Yeah, but, I love classic
movies. Slapstick. You didn't love the slapstick, especially the beginning. I think that can put people off, but you just got to stick with it a little bit because the jail stuff's just ridiculous. I could do the whole movie without that. It was just
right.
But otherwise, it just had that great Sergio Leone feel. I loved seeing the Indian take on it. I loved, the dancing and it was glorious. It was really
glorious. And the music is great.
Oh,
music is really
great. Music was really good. In fact, I noted that music during the killing scene was awesome. It has that weird like this weird creepy kind of creaking sound. Oh, it was just incredible. It felt very, very avant-garde. I was like, oh, this is kind of experimental, kind of cool music in this movie.
I mean, I will admit I have never seen Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, but I guess this is loosely based on that a little bit too, so, and obviously a lot of influence, as you pointed out, of the spaghetti westerns of the 60s and the early 70s. So a lot of, I mean, we can see the homages to Hollywood films that we're, familiar with, those old westerns, but I mean, it's so unusual because we don't, westerns are very out of fashion in Hollywood as well, for the most part. But really it feels wild because nobody really does a Western kind of film in Indian cinema now.
No.
So, it just feels really different in that way. But it's iconic for a reason, right? It's one of the top films of all Indian history for a reason.
So good. So good. Yeah. I highly recommend it. I mean, it's, when we saw Jigartanda and X, XX, and then they had the Clint Eastwood fixation. It had, you see that is a very important influence on a lot of Indian filmmakers that, those Sergio Leone films and Clint Eastwood went there. And I think that kind of affection goes across the board. Like, it's just, it's weird that they're Italian Westerns to begin with. They're not even like American films. So, it's sort of a kind of worldwide sort of mass appeal kind of film. So when you see that and you go, look, even they understood the impact of these films and that character and the no name and the mysterious bandits and fighting for, whatever. I love that. And so I think it's really cool to see different, cultures try and tackle that vibe because everyone loves it.
Well, there's definitely a lot of bandit kind of films in Indian cinema. That is a whole genre in and of itself. There's even one called The Bandit Queen, based on a real life woman who was the head of one of these gangs, So, I mean, it's not like this is a standalone and there's no other films like it. There definitely are. But this is so iconic. And also, I mean, RRR is hearkening back because it's the bromance, right?
Right. Yes.
Which is really rare because normally a filmmaker, it's like there's the one big star and that's it. Right. Yep. And then you have maybe a lesser female star who's not quite as big and famous as the big hero.
Yes.
And here you have these 2 giants of Indian cinema. Now, maybe at the time, Amitabh wasn't as big as Dharmendra. In the comments, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong on the timing. But now, this is a film that both, it is the iconic romance, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
and the wardrobe. The wardrobe was so good.
Oh my God. Okay, so we have to talk about the wardrobe because one of the first things I said was, "Did you notice Amitabh in the jacket?" Okay.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
Okay, so Amitabh, I don't even know how tall he is. What, like 6'4"? I don't know, whatever he is. Okay, but he has freakishly long arms. I think we can all agree on this. Okay, freakishly long arms. And so I noticed right away, especially in the Dosti song, that he always is wearing, well, most of the film he's wearing a black button shirt, and that's long sleeves, and he's wearing this denim jacket that matches those bell-bottom pants. But anyway, the black sleeves are rolled back. I'm trying to show, are rolled back to cover the fact that the jacket does not come anywhere near his wrist. Nowhere near it. So funny. And it's like there's certain scenes where he's like pointing or something, and you're like, oh.
And the shirt's like way up here.
Way up.
I love it too. That's another kind of funny thing. It was a Western vibe, very Western, but they were very 70s cool vibe. Bell bottoms, jean jackets, denim, white clothes. Like cap, they were wearing the cool 70s clothes in the middle of a Western. It was very strange.
Wow, it was a modern day Western, right?
It was a modern day Western. That's right.
Yeah.
So we have posters. Maybe he's in some clothes in that we can. Posters. I don't know if they'll show his arms in that. Well, a little bit. See, there's his folded up sleeves.
This is one of those iconic posters. Like,
yeah, it's great.
Look at that with
all the iconic scenes.
Oh, yeah,
looks really good. I know they have the motorcycle ride, which was just like RRR.
Yeah.
And
then the upper right is where we see him with that jacket and that folded black shirt.
There it is. Kind of like, Saturday Night Fever, Travolta looking. Yeah. And so that's, they have a great illustration. I love this style. So then you have the dance scene, the party scene.
Right.
And then, so we have this poster, which is more of the classic star cell in a way, him and Jaya. And then
this is the iconic one.
Yeah,
this is the iconic one.
Yeah.
With Gabbar Singh, his big face over them.
I know. So funny. Now you see it like, this was back in the day when they did these. We didn't have Photoshop. So everything had to be done as a photo layer. So they would have to cut out a photo of him and they'd have to cut out photos of them and stick them together and compile them and then do some airbrush. So it looks like they airbrush flames around him. So they did, this is labor intensive right here. So,
but I mean, this is the iconic one. Yeah. And then you see the word Sholay kind of also, it's like the burning ember that it, the way that they have done the coloring on the letters evokes what the word is. So
that's right. And that orange bleeding up to yellow is still being used as the action, effect on type for action movies. Yeah. And then another little, I don't even know how official this is, but just you see the love story right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all the other ones, Sanjeev Kumar doesn't really get, and here he gets to be in the center.
Right.
But
in the
smaller.
Middle. Smaller, but he's got full face right in the middle, so he's getting some good priority there. And he is kind of he is the central kind of, I don't know if he's necessarily the antagonist, but he is central to what is happening to all the action because he's been involved
the one that
in
sets everything in motion, right? Because even the train scene, he's there that lets them go to fight with him.
That's right.
And then so it's him sending for them to be bust out of jail and all of that. So
and he doesn't have a lot to do except look awkward for most of the movie until the very end when he gets the best scene in the whole film, which is fighting with his feet. It's just amazing. It was so surreal to see that.
And it's a little surprising when that scene happens because you just assume, I don't know, I also loved the kind of fake out because he shows them the safe, he gives them the initial payment of money, and he's like, here's the guest house. And then he has guys there to beat him up to see, are you still tough enough to do the job?
I know, exactly. It's a test. It's like, maybe we should move on to the next job. I don't know about that. So funny. I know, it was great. And you have to admire the stunt work. Whoever was doing the stunt work for that flying feet, just kind of amazing because there was no CGI. There's probably some wires, but I mean, you would have to see the wires, but I don't honestly know how they did it. So it'd be amazing to see behind the scenes.
You think about the wire work that we're used to now, like how did they do that?
because you can't CGI it out. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of painting, but I feel like if we really looked, maybe. But I would love to see someone break down those scenes on how they did those. There might be a making of it. That was some pretty crazy stuff. Where being the guy who has to do all the fight with his arms folded under his shirt.
Well, and I also can't imagine to spend 2.5 years at that time to to do the filming on a film, right?
Yeah.
Because yes, nowadays we have films that take a lot of time, mostly because then there's a lot of CGI that has to be done after the fact, right? All the post-production stuff, because we're used to, there's all the filming in front of green screen or whatever, and then they have to add in all of that stuff. But wow, the dedication, 2.5 years. But I mean, I'm assuming also the actors were probably doing other projects in between, and as I already mentioned, Jaya had a pregnancy in there.
That's true. There was a pregnancy. They're calling off filming for 9 months.
Well, and then by the time the film came out, she was, I think, already pregnant with Abhishek. So like, I mean, it just. But I just do love like seeing this film and those two couples that are real life couples who are still married today.
I love that.
And seeing
so cool.
Like, I mean, Amitabh, I know what he looks like young, but just again, seeing this again, and I'm like, oh my God, Jaya, look at how young you're a baby. Like, look at this.
I know, so funny. It's hard to believe they were ever that young. And there they are at the beginning of their careers. It's so cute. I loved it.
Oh gosh. Anyway, so please, viewers, let us know. Do you have memories of seeing this film for the first time? I imagine probably a lot of younger people encountered it first, like watching. I bet this was the kind of thing that was constantly on TV and you could watch it at home. But I would love to know, viewers' memories of watching this film as a kid. What was it like? Were you able to see it in a theater for the first time, or was it, just watching it on TV? And any other trivia that because I know there's so much lore around this film and the making of it that I would love to know. Any other stories about it would be great to hear in the comments. So Kathy, I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.
We need to see more young Dharmendra and young Amitabh, because they were all about it back then.
They were. That was not hard to look at. Yes, definitely.
I mean, they had it back then. They still have it today, but man.
That was really good. And I love seeing the really great classics because, I love movies, and I feel like this is really helping fill out a lot of gaps in my movie knowledge. So I love seeing these. I mean,
it's interesting because now you see how many references there are to some of these iconic films and how they've influenced the filmmakers that we're watching today. I mean, again, Rajamouli overtly gives homage to it in so many ways in RRR, but you can see the influence in this bromance dynamic. I wish we would have more movies today where we do have two big stars willing to share the screen, right? I mean, I do love these solitary heroes that we have, but there's something really special about this chemistry, like between two male leads. Like, or it could be two women. Okay, let's not be sexist, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, let's have, let's bring something like this back again. Because look at how successful RRR was. Why does it have to be a one-off? Give us more like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love more. All right,
more.
I mean, I'm just asking.
We're just saying. Come on, let's do it.
All right. If you've watched Kathy and I before, you need to subscribe to both of our channels because we're on each other's channels. We're doing trailer reactions. We're doing movie discussions like this in both places. So you have to subscribe to Kathy at Cinematic Podcast. And then please do subscribe, press the notification bell, all that good stuff. Stuff here.
Exactly. Do it.
All right. Thanks, Kathy. And I'll see you again soon.